let's talk about healthy, emotional, spiritual leaders. I'm not really going to touch that much on spiritual leaders in terms of, like, you might be thinking spiritual leader, aka like a pastor or a dean or someone like that. I'm mostly going to be talking about just leaders in general, the people that have been given the responsibility to manage and lead others. If you guys didn't know, I spent my youth from 12 to 18 years old in the Civil Air Patrol. And if you are familiar with the Civil Air Patrol, first off, shout out, you're my homie. Second off, let's just take a sit down, and here we are. So I am so thankful that a part of the curriculum for the Civil Air Patrol, it's the auxiliary of the Air Force, is to read leadership books in order to advance to the next rank. And I remember reading these books and crying when I came upon servant leadership, because it just seemed like so selfless. Like, this was the leadership model that Jesus followed when he washed the whore's feet and in front of the disciples, which said that she was dirtier and she shouldn't be there. And he accepted her, not only accepted her, but he showed his service, that a leader is the one that can lead from behind and trust the pack, has the best interest in mind. Okay, before I get too much on a rant, I realized that there are two kinds of leaders out there, and I'm being pretty broad when I say this. You have leaders who, they expect respect because of their position, and there are leaders who are given the position because they are respected. And I've worked with both of them. And I think it's tied again with the, we're talking about spirituality and we're talking about the matrices of density. And when I refer to 3D, I'm talking about the flesh. I'm talking about the awareness of matter. And when I talk about 4D, and I'm just going to keep it simple, just talking about 4D, I'm talking about the spirit. The 4D is kind of this union between flesh and spirit, so the 5D is kind of like more elucidatory, but it's that bridge. Anyways, a leader that is in the 3D might feel like, because they have the possessions that go with leadership, like they have the rank, right? That means that they should be respected. Versus, so, just because they have the things equals that the people following them should blindly follow them without questions. And if that a question is asked, that it's somehow seen as a challenge to their authority instead of an opportunity to build the team and strengthen that I was going to say coordination, but commemoration, the teamwork aspect. So what does a 4D leader look like in terms of they're valuing each individual soul that is a part of their team? They're valuing those beings because they realize that the entity, aka the goal that they are there to accomplish, it requires all of their teammates locking in to the specific aspects of their own characteristics, their own experience, their own soul. And it requires their unique contribution. So the leader has to be aware, has to humble themselves enough to see, how can I help this person reach the goal? Not, I'm the leader, so you have to follow me, we have to reach this goal, go do this. Instead, you are leading from the bottom up. You are starting with the weakest link, because the weakest link, you're only as strong as your weakest link. Versus you might see a 3D leader, lower dimensional leader, look at the weakest link and try to eliminate them entirely, try to take that link out, not realizing that compromises the whole structural integrity of the team and causes fear. When a leader is using intimidation or a tactic where they're trying to bribe you with items, anything in the physical reality, or they're trying to say that they have this rank, therefore you must listen, instead of saying anything like that, that's when you know that you have a 3D lead. I want you to do one thing for me. Get away from them as soon as possible. I mean, it's so much easier said than done, because sometimes you're on that that team. And if you yourself are a leader, which I have a feeling if you're watching this, you are, and you have a type of 3D leader above you, then they may be threatened, because I have a feeling that you're more on the 5D, 4D leadership spectrum in terms of you genuinely are emotionally intelligent. You're aware that each individual has their own gifts. They're going to have pros, they're going to have cons, they're going to have strengths, they're going to have weaknesses. And your emotional intelligence of being aware of the team assists the team in reaching that goal, actually helps us all understand that, hey, I have a weakness here, so cover my back because I know that's your strength. And so there's also this understanding that a 4D, higher dimensional leader, I'm just going to call them a good leader and a bad leader for the sake of simplicity. A good leader knows that it isn't about who's in charge. It's about finishing the mission that they've been given, tasked to accomplish with their team. Again, it's not about who's in charge. It's about finishing the mission. It's about reaching that end goal. A bad leader sees this as, I'm in charge, here's the goal, I'm going to give you minimal information about it. You're going to have to be dependent on me, and if I'm not there, then everything falls apart, and you're not going to even understand what the end goal is. You're going to have to entirely trust on me because I say so. Okay. So, how important is it to be a good leader? If you want to actually reach your goal, and you want people to help you reach that goal, then you kind of have to be a good leader. Of course, you can coerce people into accomplishing the goal, but generally speaking, it's just not going to be as effective or impactful, the goal and outcome, as it could be if your teammates realized the importance of the objective. And a part of being a good leader is understanding the goal's objective and then looking at each individual strengths and weaknesses and their own individual objectives and tying that back to them. So I think there are like a couple of stages of leadership, of accomplishing a goal. And it kind of goes like this. First, it's a whole mumble jumble. You meet these people and you first hear the goal. Okay, great. After that, it's self-organization. It's people trying to figure out and picture, how are we going to accomplish the goal? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? Then you actually have the self-organization part where people are then allowing themselves to take on tasks and volunteering to do this and that. And then you actually have the execution part where you're all executing on the individual tasks that you have been given with the goal in mind. And then, of course, there's the end where you accomplish the goal and you all are now stronger. You're a stronger team because of it. So that is pretty much the essence of leadership. Like, when you are leading someone, there's always like an end goal. It's like, anyways, that's what I think. Anyway, that you're leading someone to get to somewhere. You're not like walking around in circles. So how can we be good leaders to ourselves? Well, for one, if you're telling yourself, I gotta do this because XYZ, all of these superficial means, or your goal really isn't resonant, or it's just you're trying to work on doing something that is within your weakness and it's just discouraging, then it's important to realize that emotional intelligence is one of the most important things you can have as a leader. Just being aware that, hey, maybe this is not the day. Maybe I need to take a break. Maybe I need to ask for help. Like, one of the most powerful things a leader can do is ask for help. And it makes, again, the whole team aware that this person is not a superhuman. They're not better than us. They're just the one that has their eyes locked on that objective. And so we trust them to bring us to the end goal. Like, that is a good leader. A good leader doesn't appoint themselves to be the leader. A good leader is appointed. So, once again, how can we be a good leader in our lives? There's so many opportunities to be a good leader. I think it's surprising. I'm now starting to get a little bit more involved with the local community governments over here, and I'm realizing just how passive community is. Like, it's so easy to complain about something, but I have a lot of respect to those who try to do something, even if it doesn't work, even if it's like a mess and people are making fun of them or it doesn't work out. I have a lot of respect to them. And I realize that people may say, hey, it would be great to like solve this world problem, but I don't know how. You don't have to know how, but you do need to know how to ask for help. And if it's something that you really want, like, to see come to an end, like, no great thing was made by one person. Nothing here. The pyramids, no beautiful, Taj Mahal, computers, phones, automobiles, planes. Not a single thing was made by one person. Now, it may have been one person's idea, but they knew that they had to reach out and ask for help, that they were not an expert on all fields and all aspects. And so for your life, if you're out here wanting to create an empire, you're wanting to create something great, you're wanting to create something cool, and you're feeling stuck or you're feeling ashamed and you're feeling like, man, I can't do it, how do they do it? It's because they ask for help. It's because they realize that they have weaknesses, they have limitations, and they may suck at things that other people will succeed in. So being a good leader is understanding your own weaknesses. It is about being aware that you have your own limits, and you may be stronger than others at communicating the objective or the goal, the end goal, and assigning, or I'd rather say acknowledging the strengths and talents and skills in those around you and assigning them so that the objective can be accomplished. Your job as a leader is not to do everything. Your job as a leader is to make sure that everyone is doing the right thing. Again, a bad leader might sit back and literally do nothing and not be an example to the people that are following them, and get frustrated when the people that are following them don't know what they're doing because they never led by example. They never showed them. They didn't communicate the vision. And that's another thing. A bad leader might feel like you have to be a mind reader. You should already know what the goal is. Why do I have to tell you? Well, that's the role of a leader. The role of the leader is to encourage everyone who is a part of reaching that objective to give it their best shot, to give it their all. And if they're burnt out, then to remind them to rest, to take care of themselves, to be the rock for the group to lean on, and also, assist in pushing them through and help fill out. You might not be the best at XYZ, but if you are able to acknowledge that people are awesome at things that you suck at, and you can swallow your pride and actually ask them for help and not like command them to do this for you, then you're on the right path to being a good leader. The last point about servant leadership that I wanted to just note when it comes to being a good leader is humility. I don't think your team, like some teams and some leaders, you might look at them and think like they are everything. They are like Superman, they are beyond human. But I think it's really important to normalize that leaders are just human. And I almost feel like, in just the way that humanity is, you see somebody up there, you want to tear them down. You see somebody down there, you want to bring them up. There's this equalizing thing. So a good leader needs to have humility in order for the team to rise them up, because a leader holds the vision, it holds the objective deep in their heart. That's why they're there. Again, they're there to remind everyone of this is the objective. When two people are bickering because their egos are getting in the way, the leader is there to step up and step in and say, hey, I understand XYZ ego, but let's focus on what's actually important. How is this helping us reach the end goal? And then to be the listening ear that is non-biased to either side and to see it for what it is, okay? And so the leader has this job and obligation to push aside their own ego so that the vision, the objective can come through them and be channeled through their communication, through their actions, through their choices and decisions that they make on behalf of the team to get there. Again, leaders are made for movement. They're made to move projects along, or goals or objectives, to create things that haven't been seen before. Any great, beautiful, amazing thing that you've ever seen in your life had a leader behind it, but that leader was behind the people that made it happen. So you can't give them all the credit. Absolutely not. Again, a bad leader would try to take all the credit, be like, it's because of me, we were able to do this. A good leader knows that because of the team and their consistent effort and work that they put in and this talents that they brought to the table, this was able to be accomplished. I simply led them in the right direction and they did what they needed to do. Okay, so that's my little spiel on good and bad leadership, and when it comes to being an emotionally healthy leader, what to look to, in your own life, in your own teams, in your own family, friends, circles, whatever it is. If you have something in your heart that it wants to come out and you're not sure how, I think the first step is to admit that you're gonna have weaknesses and you're not gonna know how to do everything, and allow yourself to create a good team that can encourage and support you as you lead the pack to that end goal. All right, again, communication is essential for leadership. Emotional intelligence, absolutely essential. Respect. Don't expect anybody to respect you if you don't give them respect first. Okay, I respect and appreciate you for actually watching this video, and I hope that this helps you in your leadership journey to become a better, more emotionally intelligent, healthy leader. If you like this video, press a thumbs up so I know so. And if you have any suggestions or reflections, if you're leading a team or just leading yourself through something and you want to share it, feel free in the comments below. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. God bless. Namaste.